What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about why it's so important for you to learn how to defend yourself, why it's important for you to know how to fight, and the benefits of practicing a martial art. And I know what you're wondering. If you're thinking like, why are you so fucking sweaty? It's because like it's the fucking hottest day of the year, man. I'm just trying to get this video done, so I'm going to go right through it. Learning how to fight is something that's very important and fundamental just as a human overall, because everybody needs to learn how to protect themselves and be safe. Now, especially as a guy, I think it's very important for you as a guy to know how to fight, at least, you know, be in a couple fights every once in a while, because learning how to fight is going to be the most humbling experience you've ever had. Once you actually get into some kind of fight or altercation or sparring, you're going to see how weak you truly can be, how inexperienced you can be. You're going to feel like totally defenseless, which is the opposite, because most people tend to have this idea that they can fight. Like, especially as a guy, most guys tend to think, even I used to think this back when I was still younger, that you have like this innate thing inside of you where if you just get angry, you'll magically know how to fight and take care of the other guy, when in reality that's not true. At least not for most guys. I mean, I have seen a few guys where they have anger issues and, you know, they manage to pull it off, but 90% of the time, you're most likely not that dude that can do that, and you just look like a goofball. It's just saying like, oh yeah, dude, trust me, when I see red, bodies just drop to the ground, man. Or like, dude, don't make me mad, because when I get mad, like, people just start falling and I can't stop myself. I've met a few cornballs like that, so don't be that guy that thinks he's like so good and can actually fight when in reality he can't. So I'm going to quickly go over a few key points on why it is important for you to learn how to fight. So number one, and before I do this, now for the ladies as well, although I do suggest learning how to, you know, fight and practice a kind of combat sport, it would be very helpful. I do suggest not going against another guy. Like, if you can use a weapon, some kind of like, you know, a safe weapon of your choice, or pepper spray, just because of how much stronger a guy actually is. I know a lot of times you guys aren't able to tell how strong guys actually are in comparison to women, just because of, you know, the obvious biological factor. And I'm not saying this to be sexist or anything like that. I'm just saying it realistically. I still think it is a very good idea for you to learn how to fight, but I do want you to keep in mind and always avoid fights when possible. I don't suggest anybody going out and starting fights. I don't suggest violence. That's a very bad thing, but it is important to know how to take care of this in case any situations like that ever happen. So with that being out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys the quick reasons why you need to learn how to fight, how to defend yourself, and then like how to go about it the best way. So number one is you're gonna get a whole lot of confidence once you start learning how to actually fight. You'll learn how to throw proper punch. You'll actually go into the ring, and you know, you'll actually get into a fight, spar, whatever, and you'll actually start like noticing how to do things. You're gonna feel a lot more confident, a lot prouder. You're gonna realize how truly difficult it is to master, and how tiring it can be, but how fulfilling it is, you know, when you go ahead and do these things. Number two, you're gonna be able to protect yourself. For the most part, you'll be able to take on most people, because most people don't actually train, and the odds are, if they're not a whole lot bigger than you, you'll most likely be able to take them on. So that's going to be really good, because you'll be able to protect yourself and your family from the majority of people. Now, there's always going to be that select few, but it's better to know how to fight and defend yourself than to not. Number three, you're going to be proud of yourself. You're going to be you're going to feel very accomplished for what you're doing. Not a whole lot of people are willing to actually go through the training. I've done my fair bit of training at the gym, and then also just training like for combat sports, and what I've seen is combat sports training is a lot harder and a lot more tiring. That's just what I've seen with my own personal experience, but I think it's good to do both. I think it's good to go to the gym and train your muscles and train, you know, your strength, your speed, all that stuff, and also learn how to learn how to properly punch, do sparring, you know, practice your drills, all that good stuff. Once you start learning how to fight, you're going to start feeling a lot more proud of yourself. This builds character. Like I said, it's a very difficult thing to start doing, very fulfilling, very important to learn how to do, but it will build your character as a person. You know, you're going to get that self-development, you're going to get that improvement that you want as a person. So it will humble you. One of the most humbling things in the world is losing a fight. Now, I think the reason before, I saw somewhere on like a podcast or something, is because pretty much, you know, if you lost that fight, in reality, if there was no one to take them off, if it was just one-on-one, if there was no referee or no like people taking score, you would have died, you know. They would have taken your life because you would have been knocked out, would have been beat. So it's one of the most humbling feelings because, you know, damn, like, I'm not unstoppable. It humbles you, keeps you leveled, because it, you know, like a lot of us, we go around, even myself, right, we go around with this ego of ours, and sometimes it gets a little too high. It's good to have a little ego sometimes, but sometimes it gets a little too high. So it's good to be humbled every once in a while. And every time you go sparring, because there's always someone better than you, there's always someone that knows how to fight better than you, so you'll always end up being humbled. It's good kind of humbling though, and you'll start to realize like you're not all that you think you are, and there's so much more to learn and grow from. Now, one benefit of actually fighting and sparring is you will feel the most alive. It's hard to explain it until you've actually been there and start getting punched in the face. But when you start getting punched in the face and it's just your body taking over, like, at least I haven't gotten to the point where it's hard to explain, but when you're in a fight, right, you sometimes don't actually control it. Like, you do, but you don't. You don't do it consciously. Your body kind of starts to take over and just does what it thinks is natural, but you feel the most alive when you actually are there. You get like all the adrenaline. Usually you don't even feel the punches as well until the next day or until after the adrenaline has calmed down. So you feel the most alive and the most primal when you're actually sparring someone and doing some kind of hand-to-hand combat. And yeah, if you learn how to fight, you're going to get a respect. Like, if you learn how to fight and you learn how to do it properly, you're going to get a lot of respect from your peers, because especially if they understand how difficult fighting is and they've actually been in fights themselves, you'll start to get a lot of respect from them, because people just respect fighters in general for the most part. I mean, there's always a few of the people chatting shit, you know, a few people that just talk shit. It's usually the people that won't get in the ring or won't actually fight. So usually you don't have to worry too much about it. But you're going to gain a whole level of confidence from actually learning how to fight. So you don't even have to worry about that. Now, learning how to fight will leak out to the rest of your life. Like, it's going to start to bleed out to the rest of your life, because the stuff you learn when you fight and you spar and you build this discipline of just doing the work, even though you don't feel like sparring, even though it's scary, even though you don't want to do it, that's going to bleed out to the rest of your life, and you'll start to be successful at everything else you want to do. Like, if you're doing business, if you're, you know, at your job, with girls, whatever, right? You're going to start to get the confidence. And once you go in and you start fighting people and you start getting sparred and you're like, okay, well, I just got my ass beat and it wasn't even that bad. Or, you know, I just sparred up, you know, I was bleeding, my nose was bleeding, that shit fucking hurt, I'm fucking tired. Then the rest of the stuff is going to seem easier. You're going to be like, like if I'm out here, you know, boxing this big ass dude or this strong ass dude, this scary ass dude, next thing you know, going up to that girl or talking to that girl, you know, it's not going to seem as scary as before. So that's one thing to take away from it. You're going to feel a lot better doing that. You're going to feel a lot more confident. And like I said before, most people aren't willing to go ahead and fight. Most people aren't willing to go ahead and spar. Most people are actually scared of that, and they don't actually want to admit it. I'm going to go ahead and admit it. It's one of the more scarier things to do. I don't know, I mean, maybe some people have learned how to deal with it. I personally still always get the little tummy feeling, the little butterflies every time I'm going to spar someone, especially if I know they're pretty good. So it's one of the more scarier things to do. It definitely is not easy, especially to get in there and go against another man or woman. So yeah, definitely not what most people are willing to do, but you also get more respect, because you're like, okay, most people aren't willing to do this, I'm fucking willing to do this. You're gonna get more confidence from that. Now, like I said, I've learned I learned the basics, right? I know the basics. I'm not claiming to be this super good fighter. I just know the basics. Eventually I will start to get better, and I will eventually go into a real gym and learn the skill very good. Me personally, I want to learn mixed martial arts. That's what I've really been, like, I'm really into, like, watching that shit, and it's really interesting. So I definitely will go into a gym. Just need to stack up my bread, free up more time to actually go and do it and dedicate it, because it is a big commitment. So for anyone, if you want to get into fighting, what I would recommend doing is, if you can, go ahead and try to find like a boxing gym or a mixed martial arts gym and just have them teach you, because like I said, going to them directly, they'll teach you exactly how to handle themselves. exactly how to handle yourself. They'll put the right people in front of you. They've been doing this for years. They're the best in the game. So you'll start to pick up 20 times faster than anyone else, and you'll become a fucking beast if you stick to it, right? I have no doubt about that. If you go and you actually dedicate the time, you'll become a fucking beast. No doubt about it. But, it is pretty pricey given that, and it is very time consuming. So not everyone has a lot of money to just go ahead and bam, drop like $200 a month to go to a gym, So for the people that don't, what I would suggest doing is going on YouTube, learning the basics, learning the fundamentals of boxing. What I would suggest is the 4 martial arts I would suggest you learn is either boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or wrestling, and mix any of the striking ones with the wrestling ones, and you'll be set, dude. Go ahead and go on YouTube, learn the basics, and then just start sparring with buddies, because the most important thing is the actual sparring. Like, you could work on the heavy bag and the speed bag all you want, but at the end of the day, like, you need that hand-to-hand combat. You need that actual feeling of being in the fight, because it doesn't translate over. You do learn the muscle memory and all that good stuff, but it's not the same as actually sparring. And I should know, because I used to do that, just hit the bags. And sparring is a whole different thing. Like, whenever you actually go and spar, it's a whole different game. So just start sparring, and there's going to be a few people that are going to be like, oh, well, you're just training and sparring with people, but you're not actually in a gym, so you're not going to learn shit. That's completely false, and it's a really dumb way of thinking. Like, just put this into perspective. So let's say there's a guy that's never trained and never trains, he just chills, right? And there's a guy that always practices on the heavy bag, like, I don't know, 2-3 times a week, and he spars with his body once a week. Now, although he's not going to an actual professional gym, he's going to know a lot more than the other guy that doesn't train at all. Now, the trained fighter will always beat them, but that's just to keep in mind. Like, if you can't go to a gym at the moment, just go ahead and learn how to spar and learn the basics, and you're going to be a lot better off than like 80% of people, because most people don't even want to, hit the gym, let alone like train for a fight. So that's just my take on it. Like I said, I hope that helps. Like always, if I would highly suggest not starting fights. Once you actually learn how to fight, you realize how dangerous fighting is, how easily people can die from these things, because it's very dangerous. Like I said, fights in general, like let's say you're in a fight, bam, you're fighting with some guy outside of a club or outside of a fucking Walmart, right? You hit him, he falls to the floor, busts his head open or some shit, he dies. Now you're going to jail for the rest of your life over something stupid. So if you can avoid the fight, always avoid it, but it's better to not. Like, if you're already getting pressed, like, dude, you have to fight back, because you can't be a bitch. Like, you can't just take it. I know the school system teaches it a certain way. Like, no, if you're getting beat up, like, just take it and tell the teacher, yeah, fuck that, man. Go ahead and learn how to fight, defend yourself at all costs. But, if you can't avoid the fight, avoid it at all costs, because like I said, humans are weird. We're strong as hell, but we're also weak as hell at random points. Like, you'll hear stories of a fucking guy like, oh, well, he was able to lift a tractor because like his kid fell underneath or something. And then you'll hear of a story of like, oh, a guy falls and then he fucking dies. So I don't know, it's very random. Just be safe if you can. Learn how to fight, and I hope this video helps you guys. Me personally, I've been slacking. I've been completely just slacking on the aspect of training. I'm gonna go ahead and start training at least 2 or 3 times per week, boxing and kickboxing, all that good stuff. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start sparring at least once every week minimum. I need to start getting that sparring experience under my belt again, because I've been slacking. And then as soon as I'm able to cash up more money and free up more time, I'm gonna go ahead and start enrolling into some kind of MMA gym. So that's just my quick little update for you guys as well. I know, like, I'm just trying to be authentic with you guys. I've been slacking, so I most likely would probably lose to the majority of people right now, but I'm gonna stop being a bitch. I'm actually gonna go ahead and start doing what I'm talking about. So I'm just giving you guys my quick intel, my quick update. I hope this helps, guys.